Hey y'all, quick editing update for you. Not doing any editing this week, just gonna upload this. I got a plane to catch. See y'all next week with a better edited episode. Welcome to another episode of the Anyone But Cam Fantasy Football Podcast. I am one of your hosts and one of your commissioners. My name is Frankie, and sitting across from me, sitting across the internet. Well, I haven't messed up in so long. All right, one more time. Welcome to an episode of the Anyone But Cam Fantasy Football Podcast. I am one of your hosts and one of your commissioners. My name is Frankie, and sitting across the internet from me is Cam. Cam, how are you doing this lovely Wednesday morning?
I am your undisputed, unrefuted, top in wins and points for champion right now, Cam, and I'm doing excellent.
Well, the collective undefeated while have a loss. I mean,
I
it's a little
didn't
bit
say
misleading.
defeated. I said undisputed and
Oh,
refuted.
disputed.
Yeah, I was, word choice is important.
Hmm. Yeah, you do have a bit of a lead on both myself and Greg, pulling up in that 2-3 slot, 5-1. Yeah, that's hey, at this point, there's not much I can say. I will say that I was looking ahead to this week as a little bit of a preview and looking at, the bipocalypse that my team is having and noticing I'm having to line up across from you and not excited about it. I'll give you that.
I mean, you were gonna lose anyway, so might as well have some vibes with it.
We're just going to move on from that one. All right. Thank you all for joining us for an episode of the podcast. We're going to look back towards week 6, the week that was. We'll look at the waivers, and then we'll look into week 7 and talk about all the matchups to be. We are, as I said last week, but every week we're just getting closer and closer to that halfway point. Things are really starting to shake out in terms of the hierarchies of these divisions, and I'm really interested to talk about all of them, and that'll be our show. How does that sound to you, Cam?
Sounds excellent. Can't wait.
All right. So looking back at week 6, of course we had some absolute barn burners in terms of how close some of these games were. Looking at the bottom of my screen, at least, you have Lassie versus Greg, who we thought was, had a good contention for the number one team in the entire league. He puts up less than 85 points. And things obviously didn't quite break his way when he had, Derrick Henry on bye, and DJ Dallas did absolutely nothing. Tyler Higbee did barely any more than that. But somehow Lassie scores 87 points and comes away with a win, which is just so lucky. But it's not quite as lucky as Devin, who won by scoring 77.5 points against a Logan team, which we also thought at one point was going to be a contender for top of the league. Just that's like 3 weeks now of underperformance from Logan in a big way. Things are collapsing at the top of our league, Cam, and I think some new leaders are taking a grasp of control.
Yeah, didn't Greg and Logan both start 3-0, and then they're both 3-3, looking at a losing record next week? That's
Yeah,
brutal.
I'm fairly confident that's accurate. Yeah, that is something else.
And Greg,
um,
losing by a little over 3 points when he started Chris Olave, who was out. So,
right.
not a great look, Greg.
Yeah. Some more lucky wins. JP wins with 91 points scored. I mean, fantasy scoring has been down. It's been a thing people have been talking about in the season so far. We're missing like 100 or 120 touchdowns or so far this season from last year. And we really felt it this week, scoring across the board. A win with 91 points. When you're playing Mike Boone, who scores less than a point, and come out with a victory, you cannot argue with that for JP. Tyler having a really, really tough week here. He had a lot of players on bye, but it's not like he had a lot of top players on bye. Still missing Keenan Allen, but yeah, just not great there. Um, and then, of course, I'm bearing the lead here on purpose.
The
But the big
headliner.
one, what was that?
I just called it the headliner.
Oh yeah, absolutely the headliner. Um, Jake losing to the hands of Dylan. what is that, a 0.8 point victory for Dylan, which we all saw on that primetime game with the Broncos and the Chargers, where Russell Wilson had the worst game of his career, which is impressive because he's had 3 or 4 of the worst games of his career so far just this season alone. This was easily the worst. So yeah, it wasn't able to get more than 2 receptions for 14 yards. An improbable victory for Dylan, but that's just how it has to happen for him. And we'll see if his luck streak continues with him through this week and then from beyond. But yeah, that's a tough break for Jake, even though he didn't score that many points.
Yeah, and we were saying last week, why is Jake starting Khalil Herbert? He's got Zeke, and
Yeah.
Jake also said that approximately 30 minutes into the Thursday night game. And play stupid games, win stupid prizes, I guess.
It's
and there's
true.
no prize stupider than losing to Dylan. Could not be me at any point this season. Guaranteed.
Yeah. Dylan's now 2-4. I mean, he's still last in points for, but man, he all of a sudden Dylan has a shot at making playoffs, which is just crazy to say. All right, and then we had yours versus Justin. You pulled out a win, 107 points. At least you hit the century mark in a win. I'll give you that at the very least. Of course, your points were capped with the Wentz injury, but overall had pretty decent performances for the rest of your team all the way around. And then we mentioned in the last podcast that we thought if there was any week to catch Justin, this was the week to catch him with all of his buys and injuries and everything else going on there. And yeah, Allen Robinson scored a touchdown, which was cool. So did Devonta Smith, but ultimately it wasn't enough to quite match up to what you put up. So pretty solid victory there for you. And then we had the not barn burner. This was the blowout of the week somehow. Mine over Envy Daniel. Again, another week where either a top 2 or 3 scorer lost on the week, and when you have all these teams winning, scoring less than 80 points, that stings for them. But the touchdowns did break my way in terms of this last week, so I didn't really feel the squeeze. But yeah, a tough one for Envy Daniel. Of course, their team now 2-4, same record as Dylan, but obviously a much better team. And so they're definitely fighting for that second seed in that Rotlack division. So some real interesting matchups all the way around. Any other takeaways from week 6?
No, I think we can move on from that desolation of a week.
Yeah. Alrighty. And then the next one we would talk about would be, well, I guess the fact that Jake dropped Courtland Sutton. The wide receiver 24 in standard, the wide receiver 18 in PPR. Just as a rage drop.
A man of his word. He said if he loses, he's dropping Sutton.
Well, I mean, he didn't have to say that, It's it's not like he made a bet or something, It's like he just said that on his own volition, which was, of course, the highest bid item in terms of our waiver claims this week. Dylan and I both tied for him. Right? I bid my max fab. Dylan had more than me, but he bid the same amount and then beats me out on priority, which is a bit devastating. I really just
if that was calculated by Dylan. He was like, all right, looking at everyone's fab, who's actually going to bid on this that I can beat? He sees you have the most out of anyone else that actually matters. And he's like, all right, who's got higher priority? So he's going to bid the exact same as Frankie just to mess with you, I wonder. Or it was just like, $100, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, if he did calculate it, then props to him. I really wanted Courtland Sutton back, for a few reasons. The main reason, though, is because I wanted to say that I traded Chris Godwin to get Kenneth Walker, CMC, Brian Robinson, and all that, and Courtland Sutton back just in exchange for Chris Godwin and some fab, because I thought that would have been funny. But
some fab or $150 a fab.
Yeah, I mean, come on, it's a little bit of fab. But now I'm a little bit broke, which is okay. Okay, so that was the big one, of course, for Dylan. Dylan's team just getting better and better every week. all right. And then the next one, Wandale Robinson to Devin, who way overbid the market. Which is good for him. And he way overbid the market on Chase Claypool as well. So Devin is just a man who is spending cash. He also spent $22 on Tyquan Thornton, who nobody else bid on. Like, man, Devin is. I mean, I guess Devin he has mad bucks burning a hole in his pocket, and he decided to spend all of it this week.
The real question is, why does Devin spend, quick math here, uh, $86 on three, bench level wide receivers when he could have just, added 15 to that and gotten Cortland Sutton? Like, he bid $37 on Wandale and 47 on Cortland Sutton. What are you doing, Devin?
Yeah, it's question marks all around. I mean, I get that he wants to add these assets now that he has Marquise Brown is going to be out for a little while, but still, it'd be better to just. It's better to have the one guy who's probably going to perform the best than to have three guys who are just like, I mean, Wandale's good, but Claypool and Thornton are just glorified dart throws on a given week. So,
I mean, Wandale's a dart throw too, just a little bit higher upside.
Yeah, I just mean I think that Wandale can't. Yeah, he has exactly. He has the upside that he can like emerge out like and above being a dart throw. I think I'm not sure the other two can quite this season.
Yeah.
Kenyon Drake went to Tyler, which is a good pickup. I would think I have too many running backs, but I did think about it. I'll give it that at least. Pat's defense goes to the Pats fan, and then I bid out Dylan for Derek Carr, and then a couple other nothing much doing there. Robbie Anderson to Lassie is at least interesting. He likes players who, have temperament issues, it seems, and behavioral issues. So it's good for his team morale. And I think that's about it for the waivers.
Yeah, just, you said you outbid Dylan for Derek Carr. You spent $15 pointless. I just want to make sure it's clear.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought there would be more. I thought there'd be a more of a market for quarterbacks this week, just based off everyone's like lineups and like buys and injuries and stuff. So like I was looking around, I thought there'd be a couple people who might try to reach out there. Like I guess what my issue was. I thought that Justin would bid, which was just stupid of me. I think that Justin would like even try because he has Josh Allen on bye.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I put a little bit up there. So whatever. Okay. Let's go ahead and talk week number 7. And we got a lot of matchups here, a lot of buys this week, which, as I mentioned earlier, Kim, I don't want to wait. I just want to talk about our matchup at the top. What do you think about that?
It's the only one that matters.
Yeah, I agree. So we have a lot of buys going on. We have the Eagles, we have the Vikings, we have the Bills all on bye, and the Cooper Cups all on bye this week. So we're both feeling that bye issue. Of course, I'm definitely feeling it more than you are, although losing Cup is not preferable. But yeah, I have to start Derek Carr and Kenneth Walker, who I like, but it's with nerve wracking. I need to find better options than Elijah Moore and Alec Pierce. But of course, Ramondre has really emerged, and I should have a fully healthy T. Higgins back. So hopefully, I can finally get some good production out of him. So definitely my worst lineup of the year so far, going against probably the best or one of the top 2 teams in the league, and your team. You'll get Dak back this week, which will be interesting to see how he performs. Saquon, Dameon Pierce back off of bye, Amon-Ra's back, Lazard's been great. Taysom is as dart throw he gets, so I'm interested to see if you do anything else for tight end. I guess you still have Pitts, right? But that's not much better anyways, if we're being realistic
here. He scored a touchdown last week.
Oh, we all saw it. It was all over social media, and he still only scored 9.4 fantasy points. So it's
his best week of the season. Let's go.
Yeah. And then of course you're getting You should actually. I don't know if you're getting JT back. Do you think JT's going to play this week? Do we know anything?
I mean, he's practiced the last 2 weeks and still hasn't played either of those. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Hard to say. I mean, if you get JT back, I think it's a pretty easy victory for you. But it might be more toss-up if he doesn't play. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, if Jonathan Taylor doesn't play, I'm stuck playing DJ Moore with who knows at quarterback is Tampa Bay or Kyle Pitts. Not
Yeah.
not ideal, but uh, you know, I I like where most of it's going. Um, yeah, hopefully Tampa Bay is able to hold down Christian McCaffrey, and then your two running backs that got the other running back in their backfield injured aren't absolutely insane, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I miss Cooper
Maybe
Cup already.
Yeah. For what is supposed should be the highest powered matchup of the week in terms of our league, we are getting robbed of the buys. Who made this schedule? Anyways, we do have another couple other high-powered matchups in terms of the team matchups here. I do think that Devin versus Greg, in theory, should be a really good matchup as well. Of course, they have their own buys and injuries going on. Especially on the Devon side, with he's looks like he's going to start Russell Wilson this week. I also thought Devon would buy a quarterback because Kirk's on bye, but good luck with that.
He's
He's
finally
still
not in a primetime game. He should be fine.
yeah. He also at the current hour is starting Melvin Gordon, which I mean he'll just swap Najee up there and who else would he play? I guess Eno could be fine. Claypool, Thornton, you picked those guys up to play probably. So I mean, he's got some options there. He needs to pick up a kicker, but yeah, it's not looking like there's not a lot of slam dunk plays on Devin when you're just starting a lot of very young rookie wide receivers and Melvin Gordon maybe. He does have Tyreek Hill. And Russ, yeah, this in theory, this 5-1 team should be putting up big numbers this week, but it's just not how it's looking too much. On Greg's side, he is at the current hour. He has to do a lot of changing in his lineup. He does have DJ Dallison, which I can't imagine he'll continue with that. It will be interesting to see if he does start Elmat. And if Devin does end up starting Melvin Gordon, how that kind of shakes itself out, that could be a big swing either way. He'll need to slot in somebody else for AJ Brown and Tyler Higbee, who are on bye. He's getting Derrick Henry back, so no biggie there. Maybe he'll have Rashad Bateman back this week, which will be great. So I mean, yeah, just like if I want to make these roster adjustments, I think Greg's looking better. Yeah, I'll get Olave back too. So yeah, I think Greg's actually looking pretty strong when he gets his lineup fully set.
Yeah, Greg's definitely solid. It's going to be interesting to see how the San Francisco defense, if they're able to get healthy to play against Patrick Mahomes, because if they're as weak as they were against Mariota last week, then Patrick can go off.
Yeah.
But Josh Jacobs versus Houston, I think that might be a bit of a game wrecker for Devin, because Jacobs got 32 points and 27 points in his last 2 weeks, and then Houston, sign me up for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just not sure that Devin's gonna have the points around him to really just propel him. But yeah, no, it's a good point. It's a good point for sure. Okay. Oh yeah, I will say that. Yeah, I will be surprised if he doesn't at least try to go somewhere else with the Niners defense. I know in my other league I have the Niners defense, and I picked up the Patriots this week to play instead. So yeah, we'll see. Greg needs a win, so hopefully he makes some moves.
Yeah.
After that, we do have a couple of other big matchups here. I think Jake versus JP should be interesting as well. 2 3-3 teams. JP, who's a team that's definitely better than that record in my eyes, and I mean he scored on the season. About 80 more points than Jake, which at this point isn't a ton more because through 6 weeks, but it's not insignificant either. He's also had 100 more points scored against him, so I think JP's definitely better than his record. I think Jake's probably as good as his record, so it'll be interesting how this one shakes out. On Jake's side, of course, we'll see him if he remembers to swap out Khalil Herbert for Zeke. Which will help boost his team.
He wouldn't forget that twice in a row, would he?
Yeah, I mean, they're not playing on Thursday, so I find it pretty unlikely that he'll forget that one. So that'll help, of course. And then he has a hole in his team now that he doesn't have Sutton.
Did we mention that Jake put a bid in on Cortland Sutton?
I didn't mention that, but that was I thought that was just like an ironic bid more than anything.
Okay.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. I mean, he can start Corey Davis, who is pretty dart throwy, but he's snap percentage is awesome. His targets are good for an offense, like in terms of like his targets are bad, but in terms of like what you see from the offense the last few weeks, it's actually pretty good. I mean, you always dart through Nico Collins, Josh Palmer, Darnell. I mean, he's got options. Nothing that you're like in love with, but he definitely has some options there for that second flex. Waddle should be is Waddle with the what is Waddle dealing with, a hamstring or shoulder injury? All right, we'll have to monitor that. Um, um, yeah, and we'll have to see how. I mean, a big swing of this game will probably be how well Kyler is able to perform against the Saints. So that'll be interesting to see.
Oh,
On the JP side, he has a bit of a conundrum with his running backs, with how you play Damian Harris, or I guess I should better put it, how do you play Damian Harris in this environment? Not that he has a ton of options otherwise. He has Huntley and he has Pollard, which are not great plays, but Huntley could be
dude,
fine.
Pollard versus Detroit is an excellent play. What are you talking about? Oh
Yeah,
God.
I mean, Pollard's snap percentage has just been so down this year that it's just hard to trust. Like, yeah, it could be great, but like, or Zeke could just like, wreck shop. So if he plays Pollard, I mean, it'd be interesting to see how that Pollard versus Zeke matchup plays out in this game.
Mm.
Um, and then, his receivers are decently solid enough. It would have been fun to see Judy versus Cortland Sutton in this matchup, but it wasn't meant to be because of Jake's actions. Um, DK and Amari, which are good players, not the most amazing starts recently. Duvernay loses a lot of his luster if Bateman's back. Did pick up those Patriots defense, which would be a good boost. So I think once both these teams, kind of fully set their rosters, the projections will be quite close, and we'll have some interesting like one-on-one matchups here. I'm trying to decide where I think I like better. Um, I think, oh man, I don't know. Cam, do you have any thoughts on this matchup while I decide who I'm going to pick?
I'm looking at Austin Eckler playing at 1:25 p.m. against Seattle. And I'm
Mm,
thinking about how brutal Seattle's run defense has been. And then also Justin Herbert getting to possibly get some throwing points to Austin Eckler. And I don't think Jake Logan can hang with that. And then Travis Kelsey as well, just versus Hunter Hayden Hurst. Come on, easy one.
yeah, I mean, I think it's just the big thing is like how much damage can Zeke do? How much can command the backfield against Detroit, and how much damage can he do? I mean, a multiple touchdown game is very much in the cards for him. So we'll see how that swings. It's definitely a toss up there. All right. And geez, who's left? We got some teams with losing records. um, let's go next to the hottest team in the league right now, Dylan Mickinen versus Tyler. Um,
This has got to
so
be the most points Dylan's been projected for going into a week, right? 119. Oh, because he's starting two flex players and two kickers. Never mind, it's fraudulent.
what else could you expect? He's being blessed this week by the Vikings being on bye, so he doesn't have to start Adam Thielen, or try to slot in Madison to his flex. I mean, he now has Cortland Sutton, which is he's a great player. He's on one of the worst offenses. ETN, who's been carving out a little bit more of a role every week, it seems like. His yards per carry are great. He just needs to see a little bit more receiving touchdown and to stop fumbling the gosh darn ball going up against the Giants this week. I'll get Devontae back. He's still starting. What is George Kittle? Oh, George Kittle had a good week last week. Well, good for George Kittle. I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
that. um, but Yeah, now that he has Cortland, he's not forced to start like a Juju or even an Ayuk,
We both had good
which
weeks last week. I don't know.
yeah, but it's hard to rely on that. Um, Boyd versus Kareem Hunt in his flex has kind of an interesting play. You probably just go Hunt with if Higgins is fully back, um, and then Geno in that Seahawks matchup you mentioned earlier. So yeah, I mean, good stuff on Dylan's side. Obviously, his projections are a little bit inflated from what they should be, but I mean, but, hey, even without it, I think that's got to be his highest projected start, maybe outside of like week one that he's had so far this year. Of course, it'll be interesting to see on Tyler's side because he has James Robinson, the ETN versus Robinson matchup, and then we have Chubb versus Kareem Hunt going on as well.
Oh dang.
And then if Dylan does play Boyd, it'll be Boyd versus Jamar. So a lot of crossover, trying to see where these targets and these carries go to. So kind of just how those shake out will largely decide it. Maybe Tyler will get Keenan Allen back this week. He's expected to practice. So there's that. Um, he does have some decent enough flex options on his bench as well. One of which not being Antonio Gibson, who saw his snap share really go down last week. Of course, it wasn't all his fault. It's partially emergence of Brian Robinson and but still, it's not a great trend by any means. And still starting Aaron Rodgers, who is the quarterback 20 on the season. Again, another person I thought might be more on the bid for one of these like Derek Carr types this week, but I don't know, man. You do you. So yeah, a lot of like head-to-head matchups, which are always really fun to see. It means this game can swing either way really quickly. And man, it's a Dylan game, and I'm saying, Cam, it's a real toss-up. I think he can come away with 3 victories after this week.
Yeah, honestly, Dylan's team is surprisingly competent, especially if Keenan Allen isn't a go for this week. He said Tyler's got some options, but none of them really excite me. And then
Mm-hmm.
I do wonder if Dylan's going to stick with kicker flex or Tyler Boyd or one of his wide receivers on his bench. Yeah, I feel like it's crazy to say, but unless Nick Chubb and Jamar Chase kind of go off for Tyler, I think Dylan wins this.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier, man. It's crazy, but all of a sudden Dylan's emerged, and I'm not here for it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
um,
Come on, Chase. Should have
some,
started Zeke last week.
yeah, jeez, a gift, a gift. And then someone else I'm not excited to see is talk about Justin's team. Um, Again, another person I thought would be betting. Oh, he looks like he actually made some moves while we were recording this podcast. He dropped a kicker and then moved Josh Allen out of his lineup. So I guess I'm glad that he's at least aware that he has some players on bye this week. That's an improvement. We talk about bye apocalypse. Literally, Justin's entire bench is on bye.
Oh
Every
my
single player.
god.
There's not one who is not on bye this week. Rob McKenzie, Josh Allen, Miles Sanders, Devonta Smith. Once again, if there was any week to catch Justin, this would be it. I mean, there's a bit of a wrinkle with the fact that Nuke Hopkins is back, and then I'll see what's going on there Thursday night. He's looking to also start Mark Ingram, which is bad. Also Thursday night. His other starts with like John Dotson, who's coming off an injury, Waller doing the same. Jamal Williams going up against the Dallas deep defensive front as the secondary back, and still needs to pick up a quarterback. It's not looking great. Not that it's looking not that it's looking like incredibly better for Lasky's side, but it's not looking good. And then on Lasky's side, he's continuing to roll with that. He's rolling with a Tampa Bay stack with Fournette and Brady, which has so far been terrible this week. Just in case you were curious, I'm not done. He also is stacking Mike Evans, so a lot of investment into that offense. He also needs to pick up a kicker and a defense this week. I guess he has a kicker. He needs to pick up a defense this week. Not a lot of great options. otherwise on his bench. It'll be interesting to see if he goes with Tua first quarterback maybe to try to diversify a bit coming off injury. Going against a very beatable Pittsburgh defense. Not that Carolina isn't for Tom Brady, but and then he has Zach Ertz, he has Zach Ertz versus DeAndre Hopkins in terms of targets going there for him. Mixon, who has been improving almost every single week so far this season after the first 3 weeks, and then Deontay Johnson, who is like largely unstartable. And also, like, what happened to Christian Kirk? Tyler, what's going on, man? You all spent so much money on him. Like, we need to see more usage out of him.
He's getting replaced by Zay Jones, dude. Wide receiver 1 for the Jaguars.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that Zay is much better or worse, but I mean, I feel like you just gotta get the guy more involved. Either way, it's the matchup I want to talk about last because it seems to be the lowest powered one for me by far. Obviously, things are looking more in favor of Lasse's side, just because of, I mean, everything I just said. But do you have any other thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, it's brutal for Justin having his only decent running back on bye, and then Josh Allen, who's been carrying his team. CeeDee Lamb versus Detroit should be good, but then Jamal Williams, who has been solid for Justin when he needed him, is probably going to get DeAndre Swift back, and they're playing Dallas, so I don't know how I feel about that one. So,
not great.
yeah. Justin's really got to spend his $255 fab dollars at some point before it's too late.
Oh, man. All right. Well, that was just about everything. Thank you all for listening. Oh,
I know Logan requested we don't talk about his team, but I feel like we shouldn't just skip over his matchup completely.
Oh, I missed the matchup. Oh my gosh. My apologies, everyone.
And we're going to have you here for this later, dude.
Yeah, she's actually right behind me. I may have forgotten to talk about your matchup. She gave me a disgusted look. All right, the last matchup. Quickly now, we have MB Daniel versus Logan. Man, my brain was totally shifted out of the podcast. I was like moving on to the outro. I don't know how much of I can. All right, he has Justin Jefferson on bye. Which is obviously not great. In his place, you have a Jacoby Myers and Lockett and Pittman. Pittman, who saw 16 targets last week, and still after 13 receptions was only able to get about 134 yards. But I mean, hey, that dinking game works for PPR, so we'll keep rolling with that. Lockett, who saw more of a return to form last week with his less than 3 points. It's not great there. They can, I guess, sub in either Mecole or Freiermuth if he's back, or they're going to start 2 Patriots receivers. It's just not great. A.J. Dillon, who's been, I want to say unstartable, but not great so far this season as a running back too. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's done basically nothing over the past 2 weeks. So not great on that side, especially with Justin Jefferson out. The ceiling is not looking quite there that it usually would be. And then on the Logan side, he's still starting Michael Carter, which is unfortunate. He's still starting Tyler Conklin, which is unfortunate. He's still starting Garrett Wilson, which is unfortunate, and still starting Drake London, which is unfortunate. And he needs to pick up a defense as well. He has a Mostert on his bench, which is a so much better play than Michael Carter. It's not even funny. So I just hope that he actually does that. He'll maybe get Swift back. He has Rondale Moore, who can play fine. I think he has good options. So I think Logan's side is looking probably stronger overall, as long as he just as long as he actually adjusts his roster.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Logan's I can always beat Frankie Magic is going to transfer over to Envy. I think it probably will. It's especially because Swift will likely be back, and the 3 weeks that Swift has played are the 3 weeks that Logan won. So
Yeah, that's a good
it's
point.
pretty good for him.
Pretty good for him. Okay, that was it for the week. Actually, this time. Thank you all for listening to another episode of the Anal But Cam Fantasy Football Podcast. I have been Frankie.
And I, once again, am the best there ever is, or was, or will be.
And we will, that is so untrue. And we will catch you all on the next one.
Can't dispute it, though, until you beat me. Just kidding, you won't.